Hi, good morning, Mandy. Good morning, everyone.
Hi, good morning, Doctor. So, are we ready right now to begin?
Yep, let's start. Yep,
Okay, thank you so much.
no
Right, so
problem.
let's begin. A very good morning to everyone online today morning. So, today we will have the final series of workshop from Dr. Tawa for this year. Okay, so I presume it's going to be a very interesting workshop, which is on hands-on class to produce proposal and convert to review paper. So before we begin, let me just quickly run through a little bit profile. I think the profile is building up a lot of accomplishment. So today we have a very prestigious speaker with us, Dr. Thava. So as you can see his profile, he has a lot of published papers and grants and so on. So I think even today morning you were signing a MOU, right, Dr. Tawa?
Yeah, that's
So
right.
we'll see.
Actually, it was a rehearsal, and we are signing
Oh,
after
I
this.
see.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
impressive. Yeah. So I think,
Thank you.
yeah, everyone knows Dr. Tawa, so we are excited to listen to his workshop today morning. But before that, this is just some housekeeping. So I think normally Dr. Tawa will take his question as he goes, so I don't have to worry about that. It's just the feedback form, which records your attendance would be released by 11:30 onwards. So yeah, that's the only announcement that I would like to make. All right, so I think I can pass the session to Dr. Tawa.
Thank you,
Doctor?
Mandy. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank
So
you.
let's start. Yeah. Okay. So okay. All right. That's good. So very good morning, everyone. Let me just open my chat box also. So meeting controls. Okay. Okay. Chat box opened. Very good morning, everyone. I hope you guys are great. Thanks for joining. Despite, we are almost heading towards holidays. I think some of you are already on holiday. So thanks for joining, despite, towards the end of the year. And thank you, Mandy, as always, Mandy and the entire team for continuously organizing classes for USM, very diligently. And we already planned for next year as well. Also, thank you, Mandy. So, okay, we are at the final class. Okay, coming towards the end lah, the finale. So, you guys can take a break from me after this until I think what next year February or March. I think we're starting on next year February. So, today we are looking at proposal to just a bit more details into the title, proposal to scoping review journal. Scoping review is something very new. Okay, if you're not in a medical area, then scoping review would be something very alien to you, would be something very new. But it is actually a very, very old method, just that not widely introduced for communities outside, for research communities outside of health and medical sciences. Okay, so that's what we're going to explore today, and also how to actually produce very, very early publication for PhD and masters. Why am I talking about this? This is actually for the benefit of the students, okay, and also for supervisors as well, because we sort of always tend to, even myself during my PhD, I wish I knew this. I could have written papers way, way earlier during my proposal itself. I didn't need to wait all the way until I get my data, my experiments, and so on, and then only start writing papers. But review papers actually quite trending now, lah. So you can actually start writing right after your proposal or during your proposal. You can actually start drafting your review papers already. That in turn will actually help towards your graduation requirement. So the underlying problem is that once you wait for data and then you start producing your papers to meet, let's say the minimum requirement is to meet the graduation requirement, and we also have very diligent students who actually wants to publish more because for their future, then that is very good. But at least you already have very early stage itself, you can start writing papers maybe in the first year or in the first 6 months after you finish your proposal. You can actually start exploring scoping review, systematic review, and so on. So that's what I've been driving all throughout this whole year 2022, and actually the results seem to be very good. Okay, so we are getting a lot of review papers to proofread, to paraphrase, to consult, to coach, systematic review, narrative review, scoping review, and many of them actually already publishing at very, very early stage. And also there was another general thought that we cannot actually publish review papers in high impact journal or very good scopus journals and so on. Actually, we are already breaking that trend. I think we already hit impact factor 11.2 with a narrative review paper published, I think, last year or the year before. And this year also we have many Q1s under systematic review. So that actually is a very, very promising trend, very, very positive trend as well. Okay, so with the same synergy, let's explore what we can do actually hands-on, and how do you actually do the search, how do you exploit Web of Science, how do you do literature search very effectively. I'm going to show based on my own example. I myself have published uh, 3 papers, few or more under review. I have 3 Q1 papers this year. I'm not an academician, but it's just my hobby. So I publish along with my colleagues. One of that paper, one of those Q1 paper, among the Q1 papers, one of it is a scoping review journal on a concept paper, very much social science study, more on demographic study, on scoping review. So review, you cannot be very technical. That is something I need to also highlight, because you have many engineering, computer science students here today. So I would like to emphasize that review, you have to take off your mind of being very technical. You have to go like a very commercial style, or very commercial style, or very overview style. Okay, you shouldn't go very technical, because review is supposed to be very straightforward, giving very delicate message, but not too technical, so that the general audience can understand. That is why review papers will always give you a lot of citations. So if you have supervisors today, if you want to actually achieve very high H index, many citations, review paper is the best way to go. Like for an example, I published a scoping review paper only in March. So April it became active. I already got, I think, almost 10 citations within just few months. So that is the impact of a review paper. All right. So let's get into it. So I'm not going to go through this. I think most of you know me, so I'm going to skip this. So we are from Proofreading by UK PhD, very small boutique firm based in Cyberjaya, but we serve a lot of countries, about 34 different countries, on various capacities. So we are the only ISO 9001 certified academic consulting firm in Malaysia. It's a very new segment and very few in the world. And we are also endorsed by SFEP, also known as CFEP, and also Malaysian Human Resource Ministry under HRDF. We are also official proofreader and MOU with the following universities. Some are in progress, some already completed. I'm gonna move this there. Okay, that's better. And this is some of our history so far. We have already completed more than 20. Actually, this was 2 months ago numbers. I haven't updated it. Probably next year I'll update. I think we already hit more than this, way more than this. And for today's class specifically, we are going to focus a bit on thesis. Since we only have 2 hours, so I'm going to touch very mildly on the important areas, so that it doesn't turn out to be a full day workshop, because it is not. So we can only do so much in 2 hours. We're going to look into publication as well. And we're going to look at thesis to journal conversion, very important, and the language space as well. All right. So as usual in my classes, I want all of you to be keyboard warriors. Okay? Don't be silent, don't be passive. This is not the time to be passive and silent. You have any questions you want to discuss, feel free to chat up. Okay? Use the chat box, keep it open at all times, so that we can discuss together. All right? So before I start, always I would like to know how many of you are joining my class for the first time? Never joined before. Whether my classes with USM or my classes on Facebook Live, you have never joined before, kindly comment, so that I can tell you where to go and find all my recorded classes, 118 classes. Okay, kindly comment in the chat box. We have several coming up already. Okay. Welcome everyone, all the newcomers. Okay, For all the newcomers, let me advise something. Today's class is a bit advanced, okay, because today is the fourth class for this year. And my classes are always, they have a chain connection. They're very much connected. Excuse me. So certain parts I won't be able to repeat today. I won't be able to go into details today. So my advice to you is please speak to Dr. Manmeet. Get the recordings of the previous classes, okay, so that you can watch through during a break time or something, so that you can understand better what I'm going to teach today. You can still understand whatever going on today to a certain extent, but for the depthness, I would advise you to go back to all my 3 classes, and I'm also going to tell you where to find my other Facebook live classes. You might have a question, how is it different from whatever I'm teaching at USM? This is very distinct classes from what I'm teaching at USM. These are things that I couldn't explore with USM, so I go on and do Facebook live classes to explain further on very, very important elements, okay? So if you're not on my Facebook, if you're not following me, let me show you where to find me. So if you go to this particular page, Proofreading by UK PhD, so I will give you the link. Very good morning, Pau Chi Kiong. Very good morning, and thank you everyone for responding. So this is the link to my Facebook page. I've shared in the chat box. You guys can give a quick tap. Okay, so take about a minute. So this page, it's not ran for marketing purposes only. We share a lot of resources on daily basis. Okay, like yesterday we shared a very important paper analyzing the past to prepare for the future, writing a literature review, and then a lot of literature review related notes, very recent achievements from our consultees, a lot of important papers, like you can see this about 600 over shares already, very, very important on manuscript, and a lot of notes actually, 5 hot tips to publish paper in high impact journal, central role of theory in qualitative, anyone is doing qualitative, and so on and so forth. So you can find a lot of resources here if you tend to follow us, but unfortunately, Facebook would not show this to you very actively. That is how Facebook works, and that's why it's kind of dying. It will just block the content, all the necessary content from us. Okay, so what I've done, I've linked this up to my, just a moment, it's coming up. Okay, I've linked this to my Telegram group as well, which is absolutely important if you want to learn further. Just give me a second here, it's hanged already. Okay, all right, so now it's working. All right, so this is where we have 11,881 members of academic community, research community from all over the world. It's a group. That means you can ask question, you can discuss, you can share your questionnaire to collect data, or you want to ask for any advice and whatsoever. We have a lot of experts in this space. You can come and join. So if you have not joined the Telegram group yet, I'll share the link shortly. And as you can see, it is also linked to my Facebook. That means even if you don't know if the content is appearing there, it will also be posted here. On daily basis, everything will appear here, like you can see here. So that's what I've done to overcome all this algorithm problem on Facebook. Okay, so in case if you're interested to join, let me share the link. Okay, so I'm going to share an ultimate link. Okay, so this ultimate link is what I'm going to share in the chat box. So here you can select Telegram group. You can see the chat box, link 3. You can select Telegram group. You can join our Telegram group. You can select Facebook group, join our Facebook group. There also we post a lot of things. All our free video classes. Oh, I haven't touched this yet. Okay, these are all our free video classes where you can find it under this tab. Okay, if you go to videos, you'll be able to find, this is the most recent, or this was the most recent class, literature review at Scopus. Actually not, this was a bit old, but now this is the most popular. A lot of people are watching this now. So, and you can see all other classes here, free writing tools by Dr. Thava, total 118 videos. You can click see all, and from here you can see Road to Proposal Defense and Viva, Literature Review Scopus, Literature Web of Science, Clarivate. These two, don't worry, I'm going to cover it today, live with you guys. all about paraphrasing, literature reading and summarizing, literature review matrix design, PhD proposal defense, concept paper, literature review databases, and so on and so forth. So there are a lot of classes here for you to go and watch and learn. Um, some of these classes you need to pay workshop externally, but I've made it all free here so that you can reach out to everyone. Okay, so that's the whole intention here. Feel free to go and watch whenever you're free. All right, so that's about Facebook. That's done, and all other links can be found here, even my TikTok and YouTube as well, and all the free classes are connected here as well to make your life easier. Okay, so that's done. And this Telegram is very important because for today's class, we're going to use several notes. We're going to use systematic review protocols, which is going to be here. You can download. If you want to have a already pre-drawn protocol that you can just use it and plug and play into your papers or into your thesis, you can just download from here. Okay, so this is SLR protocols. So example, this would be the flow diagram. Let me just show you very quickly. This is systematic review flow diagram. So identification phase, screening phase, what is included, all that you can modify this in accordance to how you want it to be. All right, and then systematic review inclusion. Sorry, let me type inclusion. That also you can see here. There's another template here. SRR inclusion, you can download. So everything is just within the reach of your search. You can just search for everything here. All right, and I'll show you more as we go along. Okay, so I've shared all this. That's done. Let's see what we're going to cover today. So we are going to discuss on journey to hourglass theory. For the first time, I'm covering journey to hourglass theory. I've never covered this before in any of my classes with USM. And then comprehensive scoping review methodology is also very new. Hands-on search processes, this one very, very important. If you still have your friends who haven't joined yet, okay, maybe they forgot today they have class or they're doing something else, give them a kind reminder or go on share on WhatsApp or Telegram because today's class is hands-on, very, very, very important. I'm literally going to show how to search for literature on Web of Science database, high impact papers, how to search on scopers, how to use the filter functions to filter out unnecessary papers, and why you shouldn't use Google Scholar for systematic review. This is not something people will tell you. So if you're doing Google Scholar, it's good if you don't use systematic review. If you're using narrative review, Google Scholar is perfect. But if you're using systematic review, don't use Google Scholar. You're basically just wasting your time. All right. So that is something I'm going to share today as well. So go on and tell your friends to come and join if they have never joined yet. Okay, and then we're going to also explore theoretical and conceptual frameworks. Okay, this is important, especially for scientific community, computer science, engineering, and so on. We always assume that conceptual framework, if you don't know what is that is what a quantitative research will normally have. Okay, social science or information technology, quantitative related studies, they will have a conceptual framework. That is their causal relationship, their input-output relationship. Okay, but for engineering, computer science, and so on, we don't really do that. We go more on experimental algorithm development and so on and so forth. But how can we relate a conceptualization of your idea and write a review paper based on that? So this section, I'll explain that. And finally, how to convert your step one, your 10 pages proposal to a very quick scoping review paper, very raw form. You can expect for a full paper in 2 hours, but I'll just show you very quickly how you can make the conversion. All right. So I'm not going to ask how were all the previous classes because we have many new joiners. Okay, I believe to those who have joined the previous classes, I believe you have benefit from it. So for those who never joined before, please speak to Dr. Mendy. You can get the recording of Thesis Development Journey, our first class, High Impact Publication, our second class, and Systematic Literature Review, which was our third class. Okay, so go ahead and check with Dr. Mendy later. All right, not now. Okay, so recapping on types of journal papers. Okay, the problem that we always face are these two. Okay, original research paper or rapid communications or letters. These two will always require you to have empirical data. You cannot do review paper and call them original research. No way. You need empirical data, whether it's in the form of quantitative data, that means through questionnaire, or qualitative data through interview, focus group observation, whatnot, experimental data through your systems or your measurements, your FPGA system or your whole system on chip, whatever that you're doing, okay, or your what they call that modeling results, your mathematical modeling, MATLAB, algorithm development, whatever. All those are considered as empirical data. That means you need an input to get an output. As simple as that. Everything comes down to a causal system, right? But how if you don't have data? Okay, how if it takes you 2 years to develop a system? It can take that long. Sometimes it takes, right? To develop thousands and thousands of lines of codes. It's not that easy. And it takes time to finish your proposal, finish your defense, get approval, take your instrument, go out, collect data, come back, do analysis, and then start writing papers. That is very late. It is what you normally do, but that is very late. By the time you get to second year or third year onwards, you start having data, and then you start writing paper. That paper to write will take several months to review, and then on top of that, you need to go for review process. When you submit to a journal, 99% of the time they'll reject your paper. Unfortunately, that's how it works. Maybe say 95% lah, if this is your first time. And then you have to find another journal. That rejection also won't happen instantly. They might take another 6 months to review, and then the editor guy will come and tell you, you know what, your paper is rejected. So then you need to go and find another journal. So that all will take very long time, and you have to put on hold until you finish your whole publication to meet your minimum requirement to graduate. So we don't want that. We want to start very early. So what we do, we can look into review articles. That's what we're going to exploit today. So that means as soon as you finish your proposal, you can start churning out papers already. Okay, before we continue any further, for review papers, for empirical papers, for your thesis development, for your proposal development, I have designed exclusively about 12 different templates. 2 templates I haven't added to this slide yet. I didn't have the time yet, but I've already published in my Telegram group. So if you're not in my Telegram group, I can tell you that you're losing big time, because these templates will tell you, example, where to go and do literature review. All the databases, the links are given. Critical literature review template, what questions you should ask when you're doing literature review. Literature summary template, after your review, how do you summarize the findings? And then how do you build literature matrix? If you're going to write a review paper, literature matrix is quite important. You can have it and not have it. Both ways are fine. And then literature review and background writing. How do you go and find statistical data? Example, what is the current state of usage of artificial intelligence? How many percentage of the entire world is actually implementing and using it already? All these numbers, all these important statistical values. Where do you get these commercial numbers? This is the sources. I give all the data here, all the links here for you to go and explore and get all the true numbers so that you can use that to write your background, your motivation. How to write problem statement. Problem statement template is here. How to design inclusion exclusion criteria for a systematic or scoping review if you carry out systematic review. Theoretical framework, table of content, how to write your proposal, thesis abstract, and I have 2 more, how to prepare for proposal defense and viva. You can find it in Telegram. I have prepared 25 questions and complete table of content for a whole thesis as well. I recently published on my Telegram group. So if you haven't joined, go and join. If you never joined, you don't know how to join, let me know in the chat box. Okay. All right. So mother of all journal is still empirical journal. This is the most crucial journal that you need to know how to write, because without empirical journal, you cannot get to the end point. All right. And the first journal ever published and so on, those days, they always start with empirical journal. Review paper is something that came up after that. Okay. So we must subscribe. No, not really. You just have to just join only. Okay. Just join the Telegram group. Aurangzeb. Okay. So we need to first understand the mother of all journals. How do you write empirical journal? What is the structure? So the structure is generally, you must have an abstract, you'll have an introduction. Under your introduction, you will embed your introduction, your background, your problem statement, some parts of literature review, your proposed solution, and so on. All within one section, you'll finish it. It's not like thesis, you write several chapters paper is very compact, very compressed, all right? Then you have second section, which will be your theoretical development or literature review development or system development or your model development, whatever you call it lah. This is where your solution development will take place. And then you'll have your methodology, how you tend to carry out your whole research, your results, your discussion, and conclusion. That's it, done empirical paper. Now, how does it differ from review paper? This is I call this skeleton, the structure. This is narrative review, this is scoping review, and also the same for, my handwriting is horrible, so, okay, systematic review. Scoping and systematic are almost the same. Okay, are almost the same. Also, the link, if you see above there, I've given link tree. If you click that, there will be a button for Telegram. Just click that Telegram button. You can join already. Okay. So, scoping review and systematic review shares the similar DNA. Okay, they are from the same derivative, from the same family. But the purpose is different. Okay, so the thinking is different, the scope is different. Same like if you have a family, you have brothers, two brothers or two sisters, although same DNA, but our thought will be completely different. Okay, but we share similarities, same thing. Okay, so how about the structure? When it comes to narrative review versus systematic or scoping review, the structure is very simple. Everything else is the same. If you see here, it's all matching: abstract, introduction, all this breakdown of introduction, how do you write introduction. And then in narrative review, after you break down, that means you start very broad, you give your background, then you narrow to the core of your problem with your literature, and then you write your problem and purpose statements and so on. But for narrative review, you immediately initiate your review process. Okay? Frisky up there. Okay, if you just see up there, you can see a link called linktr.ee/Dr. Thava. Click that and you can join Telegram group. All right, you can find for the button. Okay, so then you start initiate review process. Under review process, you'll have, maybe you need to talk about theory or principles or the underlying mathematical problem. Then literature review to prove your necessary gap. If you have a literature matrix, you can use that. And then proposed conceptual model or your software model or your review topic, and then your discussion and conclusion. I have to tell you, the discussion of a review paper is very extensive compared to an empirical paper, because it is very tough. It is not straightforward to publish review paper, because generally the value is low compared to empirical paper, because the natural assumption of a reviewer, especially reviewers who don't write review papers, they will think that this is a waste of time. You're not using original data. This research got no contribution. Actually, review contributes a lot, because review is the one that will tell you what is next, what is actually happening, what is going on. Review is very important because you will be very critical on what is going on. Okay, so if you compare that to a systematic or scoping review, you can see the difference here. There is a methodology. This methodology is different from your empirical methodology. This is review methodology. Okay, literally, how do you carry out your review? And then the rest follows the same. Okay, follows the same. The rest all follows the same. So that is the difference. This is something that you need to widely understand before you start attempting to write. You can write narrative review, you can write scoping review, you can write systematic review. But narrative review, there is a slight weakness where reviewers might think that it's not precise, it's not comprehensive. There's a lot of biasness, okay, because you might not cover everything. All right, so that is the general perception. Now, from there, let's jump to hourglass theory. What is hourglass? For those who don't know what is hourglass, let me show you. Okay, sorry, before that, for Aurangzeb, Oloso, or anyone else who was finding trouble joining Telegram group, I've given you the link tree already. Once you go into that, yeah, so if you click that, okay, this button here, and then you can just view in Telegram. Okay, I cannot view this because I'm already part of it. Okay, so this is what you need to click. this button here. Okay, and then you just can click this button. I think this one will show you either join or whatever. Just click that, and then you'll be joining the group already. Okay. All right. So let me close that. Yeah, I'm supposed to show you Hourglass. Okay, so all right. So that is Hourglass. All right. It is an agent of time. It operates as a function of time. All right. So that is what I'm going to use to describe the progress of PhD. Okay, because PhD has a very rigid and very critical timeline. So we're going to use what they call the hourglass to describe the entire process and the timeline requires to go through to maneuver through PhD or masters. All right, masters by research per se. Okay, so I don't know Aurangzeb. That is the same link that 11 over 1,000 people used. So you can give it a try. Okay. So subscribe. Don't worry. I'm not going to charge you for Telegram. Don't worry. There's not any charging element there. Don't worry about it. Okay. Musaba. Is narrative review the same as conceptual or theoretical review? Narrative review is a methodology. Okay, that means it's not a methodology. It's a general term of how you do your review without involving any guideline. Okay, so that narrative review can be used to do conceptual review, theoretical review, critical review, can be anything, can be in any form. Okay, so coming back to hourglass theory, you can see the timeline here given years 1 to 3 of PhD. That is the timeline. Okay, agent of time. For masters, it will be maybe years 1 to 2. Okay, so that is the difference. So you might wonder, why do I have this? Why do I use hourglass? Why I have this opening and closing here? What is the first thing that you hear from your supervisor when you start your research? I think most likely you will hear, do literature review, read very widely, read a lot until you come up with a topic that you want to explore. That is more or less what they will say similarly. Okay, might be similar. So that is why we have a very big opening which depicts the initial reading stage. Okay, you have a very big opening. That means you read very broad, very widely. You read whatever that is related or might be related to your topic. And then you will gradually narrow down. You'll find something interesting. Okay, I want to go into this. And then you go down further, you narrow down further. Okay, then you'll go to a topic that you are interested. Okay, this is what the research gap is going to be. This is what I'm going to explore. That is where you do your title confirmation. Okay, this is what I call as step 1. Okay, where you write 10 pages proposal. There are two kinds of students. One, they will write 10 pages proposal and then they write chapters 1 to 3 after that as their complete proposal. Some tend to jump into chapters 1 to 3 immediately. I would refrain you from jumping straight away into chapters 1 to 3 because it will be too extensive and it will take extra time before you actually inform your supervisor what you intend to do. Okay, because chapters 1 to 3 is like, I think maybe 60, 80 pages. So by the time you get to the actual thing that you want to do, it will be no, I wouldn't say too late. It will be time consuming. And let's see if your supervisor is not interested in the topic, or it deviates from what you guys have agreed, or it deviates from the central expertise of your supervisor, then you got to scrap it. I've seen many scrapping before. Many. I've seen 150 pages of proposal completely unusable. Many instances. So that's why I always encourage students to write a 10 pages proposal first, a basic proposal, which consists of, I'll explain to you later what will be the content of 10 pages proposal. That will immediately, very quickly, you can write that out once you have the idea and you can inform your supervisor, this is what I intend to do. This is my intent. I want to solve this problem and so on and so forth. Once your supervisor agrees or they want to know more, then you can start exploring chapters 1 to 3. Okay, you can see the labels here. Okay, So once you go into here, the risk factor of getting rejected or completely scrapping is relatively low. Not relatively, significantly low. Because you already shown a supervisor what you're going to do in 10 pages, right? If you think about it, in a way. So, then once you agree, proposal defense done, all that done, then you can start getting your results, your programming, your modeling, whatever that you need to do to continue producing chapters 4 and 5. This is where your data, your analysis, and then your discussion all comes in. And finally, you can see an opening here. Okay, before we get into this opening, let me explain what are all these. Okay, so let me take this off. Okay, so from here, this opening, which is the 10 pages proposal, you can actually start writing a conceptual paper or a review paper. Whether you are using narrative or scoping review or systematic review, either way it's totally fine because all of that can differ according to your study area. So narrative or scoping review, you can use that as a method to write your conceptual paper. But let's say you want to wait, you want to have more details, you want to finish your chapters 1 to 3, also can. Finish your chapters 1 to 3. You can write your conceptual paper here, either here or there. Both also doable. Okay. Now, 10 pages proposal is a sort of an executive summary to your, a long summary to your complete chapters 1 to 3. All right. So that's why I say you can either write here or write here. Or you can write the paper here and then you can use that content to further convert that into chapters 1 to 3. Also can. All right. Also can. Now, you might ask me, this is coming from chapters 1 to 3, this green paper. How about this systematic review paper? Okay, they are two different focuses, two different strategy. This one is focusing on conceptualization of your idea. That means you are literally telling, okay, you know what, this is the introduction, this is the background, this is the literature review, this is the problem, and this is my solution. This is what I intend to do. And you're going to publish that as a paper. This is where this is what we should be doing. This one is giving the general overview of the entire area, not now, but 10 years ago, and 10 years after this, what's going to happen, where we are heading towards, is our direction correct, without touching your problem statement or your conceptual paper. It's more of a very comprehensive review of the entire area. Okay, so that is where you can take content from your chapter 2 and further develop it to focus on different elements. All right, and you're going to talk about future. Here you won't talk so much about future because this future talks about your solution. Here you don't talk about that. This is normally our strategy when we coach and consult. This is the strategy that we apply. Okay, next one, chapter 4. Once you get to the results part, you can write a meta-analysis paper. This is a bit complex. You need to study a bit more to understand this. But this is rather a data-centric review. That means based on your data, all other papers' data, they must match, they must tally, and you'll do another stage of analysis to understand data-wise how is the topic, how is the area. This is a meta-analysis based review. That is a bit complex. If you don't want to do that, you still fine because you can further explore on empirical papers. Empirical papers, you can write as many as you can, as long as you have the relevant data. You can redesign your system or your solution. You can put in different perspectives and so on. You can actually write more empirical papers as well. So these are the articles, stage by stage, you can write as you progress through your PhD or Masters. Finally, now let's talk about this opening. What is this opening? You already finished your PhD here. You'll have something called future work. So if you intend to become academician, or you are already an academician, you're doing your PhD, or you are working towards a research, you want to have a career in research, the best available resources that you must have is as many publications as you can get. So in order to achieve that, all right, you can start exploring what else you can do from your thesis. That will be your future limitation and so on. That also you can convert to a very general scoping review, very broad paper to talk about what is exactly going to happen next from your solution, where you are heading towards. That's why I depict that as an opening back. So it's no more narrow, you're opening back for new ideas. All right, so that is what we call hourglass theory. All right, so let's go into comprehensive scoping review methodologies. Okay, before we start this, any questions so far? Anything that you want to ask?
Dr. Thava, please, the difference between systematic literature review and scoping review.
Yeah, it'll come along. Okay, it'll come along, Musab. I'll explain to you. Okay,
Okay,
thanks
thank
for
you.
that. No problem, no worries. Anything else? Okay, that's good. Thanks, Musabah, for the question. So, that is what I'm trying to explain in this slide, actually. So, rather than reading all this, let me tell you what is the exact difference of systematic review. So, if you open a systematic review paper, let's say publication, to explore, the usual materials will be used in a systematic review to run the review process will be empirical journal papers. Okay, usually high impact, empirical journal papers only. You cannot use review paper, you cannot use books, you cannot use white papers, industrial papers, government policies, and so on and so forth. So all those you cannot use as your literature as part of the review process of a systematic review. Okay, if some papers are using it, that means the reviewers did not, the authors would never understand the actual scope of systematic review, and the reviewers also don't understand. Let me tell you this, many don't know this. Okay, they all call systematic review. It's like a trend, but they don't understand the core value of systematic review. When you follow Prisma was created for clinical research where they carry out random clinical trial, RCT, many different very complex methodologies to have data. Based on the data that the empirical papers are published, systematic review will be created to review through all this data. Okay, so that means systematic review won't go and review another review paper. All right, they won't. That is where scoping review comes in. Scoping review follows almost the same method. Okay, that means the protocol, how you include, what you include, and so on and so forth. But just that what you include is rather broad. Okay, very, very broad actually. Because scoping review, you can include a greater range of study designs and methods. You can include review paper, scoping review, you can include review paper. You can include empirical paper. You can even include books. You can include white papers. You can include industrial papers, policies. You can include all those. All right. But there will be a slight struggle because sometimes reviewers might not understand the scope of scoping review. But that is why they call it scoping review. The word itself describes it. Scoping means you scope something. Your scope, big, small, can be any size when you scope into something. So that's as part of the scoping process, you can include any kinds of literature that is academically accepted. So don't include Wikipedia, newspapers, and so on. Use something more systematic. Okay, even I would say don't use conference papers because they are not that strong. So I would normally stick with empirical papers, review papers, sometimes books, sometimes industrial papers, and so on. Okay. So, Kurnia, currently I'm revising my conceptual paper from PhD, but previously I presented in colloquium by my school. If colloquium is not published online, then yes, you can use the same sentences and word. I don't know what is colloquium. I mean, the extent of colloquium, is it like a conference paper and so on? If it's just internal seminar, then yes, definitely you can use it because it's not an official publication yet. All right, but if you just use it for colloquium, please keep in mind if you're going to publish that outside journal, you need to really extensively write a very good, because colloquium is usually very general. It's like a conference paper, right? Very short. But journal for concept paper, it has to be very extensive, very detailed. Okay, so now let's move forward. So, Prisma SCR checklist, 22 items. All right, generally 22 items. SLR, Systematic Literature Review, if you've attended my previous class, that is 27 items, differences there. Okay, so you can go and watch that class, go through that protocol, and then come back to this, look at this protocol, you can find the differences. Zizi, the thematic analysis by NVivo comes under which group? Thematic analysis by NVivo, that means you're doing empirical paper, right? You have interview and so on, right, Zizi? that will be an empirical paper. You cannot exactly term that as a review paper, usually, all right? Unless you have some bibliographic analysis through that and you don't actually involve practical data, then you just don't call it a review paper, all right? Review paper should be, even if you use thematic, it should focus more on themes of all other papers rather than talking about your own data. If you use thematic analysis of your own data, you call it review, you're undermining your paper, you're wasting your paper. If analyzing other articles, then you can create teams. They'll group them up. Okay. Thematic analysis can be narrative review, can be systematic review, because thematic analysis is just a mode of results. How you're going to group your teams together and so on. So that you can still use systematic review to do that whole process, or you can just use narrative review. You can do both. Either one you can choose. Okay. Um, Inherently, when you do systematic review, yeah, it can be. It can be. Scoping also can. Like I said, systematic or scoping, depending on your input, what materials you are using for your review process. Okay? No problem. Okay, so if there's no any more questions, I'll continue to this. So this is Prisma SCR checklist, scoping review checklist. So we have 22 items. I'm not going to read this through. Okay, I rather spend the time on something else because these notes I'll give it to you. I've given very clear explanation here. Okay, I've contemplated. Even the explanation from websites will be a bit confusing, so I've reworded it to make it more easier. Because when you read through the section here, it'll be so confusing. You won't even know what they're talking about sometimes. So title is very simple. You use scoping review to identify, that's number one. Abstract is number two. Introduction, this is section introduction. You start with rationale, which is your motivation, item number three, your background lah, basically. Then your objectives, what do you intend to do, your solution, number four. And then you go to method section, you'll have your protocol. Protocol I've shared with you. So protocol is here. Here. This, you can use this as protocols if you want to. And registration, I don't think you need registration. You can forget about that. Eligibility criteria. Okay, what is eligibility criteria? What are they talking about? Okay, that's what I've explained here. Higher level requirements, namely years considered, language, publication type. Scoping is heterogeneous. Remember that, heterogeneous. Information sources, basically databases. Which database you use? How did you search? Number 8. What keywords, Boolean operators, filters that you use? Selection of evidence. Scoping review, this is where you will be distinctively different. Entirely different from systematic approach. Here it is more inclusive and heterogeneous to include quanti, quali, expert opinion, policy, documents, books, and white papers. Okay, you can include. But like I said, during review process, some people will challenge you. So you must be able to overcome those challenges. It's not easy sometimes to make reviewers understand because not many knows what is scoping review. Okay, they might think this is the similar one as systematic review. Okay, so be careful of that. Then you go to data charting process where you can build literature matrix, data items, list and define all variables, ZZ, there you go, themes related to the research. Okay, so you can follow through the same concept and you can put all your themes here. Critical appraisal of individual sources. How do you critically appraise? That is an example I've given here. Synthesis of results. Some of the items I took from website. Synthesis of results. How the evidence results will be presented, either narrative format, table, visual, or including map and or diagram. Now under results section, you need to explain. See, scoping or systematic review, you have a section called results. Because you know why? You have a section called methods. If you have a section called methods, you can have a section called results. Narrative review, you cannot do because there is no method, so you cannot call it results. So result selection of sources of evidence, that means you're basically explaining your inclusion and exclusion criteria. Characteristics of sources of evidence, basically explain the whole matrix that you have formed in method section. Critical appraisal, not really required. Okay, don't worry about this. Results of individual sources of evidence, connect the matrix that you created in method section back to a RQRO. Okay, you need to relate them. You have to explain them that way. And then you synthesize the results where you'll design a conceptual framework, or you'll show your thematic mapping process, narrative description to convey the uncovered findings of scoping review exercise. And then you'll go to your discussion part. You'll talk about summary of evidence, limitations and conclusion, and funding. Okay? So, now, before we talk about paper, let's talk about our 10 pages proposal. All right? So, don't go, my advice to you is don't go and write papers first. All right? Write your proposal first. That is actually better. So, write your 10 pages proposal first. How do you structure your 10 pages proposal, whether you're from computer science, engineering, social science, and whatnot? Okay, so let me just quickly check how what is your subject area. Please comment in the chat box. Please kindly tell me whether you're in PhD or masters, and what is your subject area in the chat box, all 105 of you, please, so we can generally know who are the participants today. Okay, risk communication, PhD. Music pedagogy, interesting. Computer science, marine science, wow. Mm-hmm. Okay, so we have a very, very good mix today. We have computer science, social science, art, design, nuclear medicine, wow. Translation, computer science, we have engineering. Okay, public admin, computer science. So the majority of them are computer science, okay. Marketing. Okay, so I'm going to generalize the 10 pages proposal as much as I can because you have across the field. Okay, I can generalize because my background is engineering, but now I work mostly in social science. So I understand both perspective, right? So, excuse me. Okay. So, structurally, okay. Yeah, definitely, Joyce. I think you can speak to Dr. Mandy because USM is recording it. All right. So, Dr. Mandy, I'm pretty sure she will help out with the recording. So let's talk structurally. No problem, Joyce. For 10 pages proposal, which I call step one, some of you might be confused, like, what is step one? What is this guy talking about? I'll show you the framework in a while, don't worry, okay? So structurally speaking, 10 pages proposal, you always start with introduction. Okay, then you have background, you have problem statement, you have your RORQ, you have your literature review, and then you have your methodology. Okay. What are the content of those areas? Under introduction, you'll use your title. Remember, always use your title as an anchor. So, if you are not from quantitative area, you can start with the problem. So, if you have 2 or 3 lines of title, the problem is a subject area, usually at the end or somewhere in the beginning or somewhere in the middle. Okay, one of these. The subject area is usually the problem area that you want to explore. So start with problem, continue with the solutions. That's how you start your introduction. Or if you're from quantitative, start with your DV and continue with your IVs. Then from your background to problem to RORQ, start broad related to your problem. Okay. Use statistics to narrow to the core. Okay. When I say statistics, if you go here to my Telegram group, type statistics. We have many new joiners. I can see the numbers are increasing. If you don't know where is the Telegram group, you can type in the chat box. I'll still help you out. Okay. Statistic. So here, if you click the statistic for background, you can go here. You can open this file here. So I've given all the necessary websites here. Key statistics and data banks. All right. So you have Worldometer, Our World in Data, OECD, Department of Statistics, Statista, Data Bank, European Data Portal, UN Data, WHO, Accenture, McKinsey. I like Accenture and McKinsey because their white papers are very good. They give a lot of information, a lot of data. OECD also very good. So these are all the URL you can exploit. Okay. Okay, so statistics done. We have template for that. Introduce literature review. Got number of templates in my Telegram group. You can use any of it that you wish. So template given, then you write a problem statement. Also template given, and then RORQ. Then you have your significance of study, definitions of your study, operational definition and whatnot. Not compulsory. If you don't have, it's still okay. But this one you need. Then your literature review section, you start with your theory, mathematical model, fundamental, principle, whatever you call it lah. Okay, every study area will have one form of theory, just that the branding will be different. All right. Then you have your hypothesis. If you don't have hypothesis, you talk about literature review of your entire study, and then your proposed conceptual model, proposed qualitative framework, your proposed qualitative breakdown, or your proposed experimental system, your proposed algorithm concept, your entire infographic, whatever, however the form your solution will be, you can draw a very simple diagram to depict the solution as well. And then you go to your methodology, you talk more about how you're going to carry out your entire research. That is 10 pages proposal, or 10 to 15 pages as you see fit. Now, how do you convert that into a review paper? So you do mapping. That's what I'm doing here now. How do you map? Okay, abstract you forget first until you finish your paper. This whole segment, you can take this whole segment here, not including significance, sorry. You take this whole segment here and plug it in. Okay, you plug in. Then, can I use this methodology? No, cannot. Because this is a review paper. You don't talk about how you're going to conduct the research. You rather talk about why you're going to conduct the solution. Right? So from there, this methodology is different. This methodology is systematic or scoping. So you need to redo that literature search to fulfill either systematic 27 criteria or scoping 22 criteria. Actually, no one cares about 27, 22. It's just a guideline. You can pick and choose how you want to follow, but certain things you need to have. Certain things you must have. Okay. So for those who want to understand the protocol better, let me go back to my link tree. For those who want to understand the protocol better, systematic review process, go to my TikTok. So for those who still don't have this link, here's the link to all my social media. You can go to my TikTok. Okay, so you can watch this video. Okay, 12 easy steps for systematic literature review. I've already break down step by step what you need to do. Okay, and we have a lot of other things here. I'm not very active recently, but I've done a lot of different things for you to learn. So if you're interested, you can go and watch here. Okay. All right. So you might ask, why don't I do scoping or systematic review and 10 pages proposal? I would advise not to, because your life is already complicated by doing a PhD, especially at the beginning. You're still learning. So don't learn too many things that will delay your proposal. You need to jump onto your literature review bandwagon, get your idea right, sort out the proposal, get a focus, scoping a focus area precisely what your supervisor wants. Always align your mind with the supervisor. Okay. No matter what you say, your supervisor is the person that will help you until the end. Depending on how much they help, I don't know. I don't want to get into that. But when during your Viva, when you're sitting in your Viva, the only person that is going to support you is supervisor. They cannot speak on behalf of you, but they will be a moral support. So they are your guidance throughout the whole journey. Okay. So always align your idea with them before you start exploring any further. This is my personal advice to you. But everyone have their own situation. So I don't know about that situation. But my advice to you is 10 pages proposal. Don't go into systematic scoping yet. Do very general narrative review. That's totally fine, because what you want is the idea. Okay, Google Scholar is more than enough for the step one. Once you convert into this, now you already have an idea. Now you can start learning what is scoping, what is systematic. Now you can convert that gradually into a paper, redo all the search, decide on inclusion, exclusion, decide on the number of papers, protocol, all that you can do now. Once that is done, this entire portion here, this literature review, theory, hypothesis, not hypothesis, literature review, proposed system and whatnot, everything will go into this segment right here. Your discussion, you can take partially from, not the whole thing from significance of study, put into discussion, expand it, blow it out, okay? Just significance won't be enough. You need to blow out into different proportion. That is how you map out the papers, okay? So, I think this one is pretty clear. Any questions on this? Okay, if none, let's go into hands-on search processes. Okay, so for those of you, I need to know before I start this, what database do you use for literature search? Please answer in the chat box. Huh? Okay, Web of Science, very good. Okay, I can see a lot of Web of Science, very good. Go, keep going, keep going. Just tell me honestly, what do you guys use? Don't worry about it. Okay, all right. Okay, so okay, actually, guys, you have to understand something. Don't need to use so many databases. Okay, if you are using Scopus Web of Science, it will cover everything. You don't need to worry about anything. Most likely, you don't need to worry about anything else. You don't need to go to Google Scholar. You don't need to go to IEEE Explore. You don't need to go because Web of IEEE Explore, when they want to create new journal or they want to continue publishing, their first point of interest in indexing their journals would be Scopus or Web of Science. No, Scopus and Web of Science. Same goes to Elsevier, same goes to Taylor and Francis, same goes to Emerald, all other journals. Their main focus is to index them in Scopus, Web of Science, ABDC, or there's another one called Chartered Institute in the UK. These three are their most important indexing that they must go and fulfill. So once you already search on Web of Science Scopus, you already covered everything already, almost everything. But then you might ask, why Google Scholar gives me more paper, Web of Science Scopus gives me lesser paper? Because Google Scholar will have all the rubbish also. Okay, Google Scholar is very good, free and good, but they give you the best, the okay, and the utter rubbish papers as well. But Web of Science Scopus, not really. Scopus still gives you some rubbish papers. Sometimes it does. Yeah, it does. But Web of Science usually gives you very, very good papers. So these two are actually more than enough. Like you use Scopus, Web of Science Direct. Science Direct is good if you're going to read books and so on. But if you generally want journal papers, Scopus Web of Science would cover everything. Okay, but feel free to search, no problem. There's no harm in searching. But I'm just talking you about. I'm just explaining the internal connection. Okay, the internal connection, how it's all connected. So today we are going to explore Web of Science Scopus. This one also we have a template here for all the newcomers. For existing guys, you know already. If you type database in my Telegram group, you can click this. You can go here and download this. You might ask, why do I share everything here? Because this is the only place that everyone is active, everyone is chatting, everyone can download. And it doesn't expire. WhatsApp will expire, unfortunately. All right. So you can open this and use all the database. All the links are connected here. All right. So let's go to the next part. Okay. Now I'm going to demo to you, show you Joyce. Here is the link. You can click that, click the Telegram button, whether you see join, subscribe or whatever, just click that blue button and join Telegram group, okay? No problem. So we are going to explore this paper together. Open innovation of institutional investors and higher education system in creating open approach for SDG 4 quality education. A conceptual review. Okay, I've literally done my own review paper with my colleagues from UTP and also from Saudi. So we're going to demo with this paper. The keywords I'm going to use are institutional investors and higher education. All right. And then I'm going to use Boolean operator N. I'm going to search across years 2011, 2021. And I'm going to explore 3 different filters, which I'm not going to tell you now because you're going to tell me. You're going to give me the best idea to use that. Okay. So now let's look at the paper. Okay, this is the paper. I published this paper under 36 days, all right, in MDPI, under Journal of Open Innovation, Technology, Market and Complexity. It's a Scopus Q1 journal. And whatever paper I publish these days, I always tell them I'm the last author, okay, because I don't have any KPI, I don't really care. They all have KPI because they're all academicians, unfortunately. Fortunately and unfortunately as well. So I just be the last author. So if you scroll down here, this is a scoping review concept paper, right? So just scroll down. So let me just scroll down very quickly how the paper is done. This is the final conceptual framework. You can see the length of discussion. Oops. Okay. And references. All right. So now let's go to the method part. That's where we need to really focus today. Okay. So okay. At the end, I'm going to show you how I got these numbers. In the search of both databases, we found 35 articles from Scopus database and 27 articles from Web of Science. I'm not literally telling you that you don't need to explore all other databases. I've literally proved that you don't need all other databases. You don't need Google Scholar, Science Direct, IEEE Explore, all that. Because the reviewers understand all of them finally links to Web of Science or Scopus. You're just redoing search unnecessarily because all of them are linked. They are background, they're all connected. Okay? So, at the end for this research, we found 35 from Scopus and 27 from Web of Science. So, let's see how we got that number. Let me open Web of Science. Okay, so here, topic. Okay, so this is how Web of Science search is, this is how it will look like, okay? So, documents, we select topic. I already explained earlier, we are going to use institutional investors, higher education. These are the 2 important keywords. So, I'm going to type institutional investor. I'm going to add one more. My Boolean is N or not. I select N. You can select whichever that suits you. And then here, I'm going to add higher education. My search range is 10 years, 2011 to 2021. So, I'm going to add date, custom, 2011-01-01, from the beginning of 2011 and until 2021, 12/31st, until end of 2021. So I click search. You need to mention this very clearly. This year you have to define it. Some people do 20 years, some people do 10 years, but don't do 5 years. 5 years, I feel it's too short. Unless your study is related to COVID, then 5 years is fine. 5 years are fine, but otherwise try to make it 10 or 20 years. Okay, so we have in total 40 papers. Let me show you what you get from Google Scholar. Haha. Okay, that's why I don't encourage Google Scholar for systematic review or scoping review. This is the truth. There's no denying in that. So, institutional investors and higher education, I click search. But Google Scholar, to be fair, you need to use that quotation mark to mark it down as one word. Scopus, you need to do. Scopus, you must do that. So it's one terminology rather than 2 different words. Otherwise, you'll go and search for 2 different words. You'll go and look for papers that mention institutional and then investors somewhere. and then higher somewhere, education somewhere, because that means they are not related term. Okay, so example, people might say the amount of primary education students joining for this year are way higher. So it'll go and search, oh, education and higher in the same paper. So we'll take this paper. But that is wrong because you want higher education, not primary school. Just to give you an example. Or else I'm going to click search again. And then I'm going to sort by year. Sorry, not sort by date. Sort by relevance. I'm going to do year 2011 to 2021. So now I click search. You see how many papers you get? 8,230 papers. If you're very hardworking, you want to do your PhD for the next 10 years or masters for the next 8 or 7 years, then you can go and filter all this. Okay, but otherwise just ignore this database altogether if you are doing systematic or scoping review. If you're doing narrative review, be my guest. Use Google Scholar all throughout, no problem. All right. But for systematic scoping, you cannot, because when you do inclusion exclusion, you need to filter out. You need to literally filter out the unwanted papers. That is where the complication arises. So here you see 40, very precise. Web of Science searching is very good. So now let's look, but I need to get 27 only. So I need your help to tell me what are the filters I should use. I know what required, but I'm just, seeing, let's do some quiz together. Okay. So, okay. What are the filters we have? We have publication years, we have document types, we have database, we have research areas, and then we have all, the rest all useless. Okay, don't worry about that. Then we have research domains. So again, research domains, we have all these. And then we have research areas, we have database, we have document types, and publication years. Which filter should I use? Or which filters should I use? Don't worry if you're wrong. Okay, you're doing PhD because you don't worry, because you are not worried about being wrong. So tell me, document type, all right? So title, where do you get title, Zizi? Excuse me. Document type, yes, no, Bashar, because I already defined 10 years. So I cannot disturb the years, otherwise it'll become wrong. Okay. Document types, areas, concept, year, no year, open access research, it doesn't matter. This one doesn't matter. That's why I never want to talk about it. Doesn't matter. Year, open access, document type, very good. Database, very good. Publication year, no. No publication year. Area, you can use if you want to. Okay, so let me show you. So, document types, I take article. Now, let me ask you the most crucial question. I am doing scoping review. Can I include review articles or not? One moment, just a very quick call. Just answer my question, I'll come. All right, so now let's look at the answers. I'm glad that you guys are responding. Very good. Thank you for that. At least, it's a bit more fun. Ken, people say no, yes, no, Ken, no, Ken, yes, no, yes. Okay. In systematic review, you can only include article, nothing else. Okay, only empirical papers. But scoping review, yes, you can. Review article. Book also can. Okay, white papers, if really necessary, can. But you must have the justification for that. Okay, because some people don't agree. All right. So you must have very strong justification. So we click refine. Okay. So now we have 32. Why no in systematic review? Okay. Article is empirical paper, right? Article is empirical paper, which you can include. But for scoping review, you can include review article. Systematic review, you cannot. Why not in systematic review? You need to go and check why Prisma was done. That one I cannot answer you because that is the protocol. Okay, protocol created by people who did systematic review. It is not my rules. It is how we have widely practiced. Okay, so there is no why answer because it was created for clinical design. Clinical design, medical research, they must use empirical documents to review. So that became a practice widely. So that's why then they came up with scoping review so that they can include more resources. Okay, no problem, Basha. That's why I'm here to give you this very, very niche information that even full workshop doesn't give because they don't know. People are actually paying for full workshop systematic review and they don't even teach these basics, which is a bit sad. Okay. So editorial material in document type. It could be different things. It could be editorial material for a conference paper, for a conference organization, topical meetings, and so on. Okay, so that is not relevant for us. Or maybe you can find out later, but for me, it was not. So done, document types. Now let's go to, we have some people say database, which is valid. I don't want Korean journal database. I don't care. If most likely you also won't care. We only want Web of Science. So I refine again. I get 29. Okay. Okay, Konya. Okay, I'm glad that you get new info. Okay, then we go with research areas. I don't do research area because I'm lazy. I don't want to click here and then go one by one, one by one to select. I don't like. Okay, I don't like, I'm really, really lazy. I can tell you that. So what I do is I just go to research domains down here. I click social science. So the rest I don't care. I just go with social sciences only because the rest are not relevant for me. So refine again. Boom, I got 27, done. Chapter close. Okay, so that's what normally I do. But you can, because definitely you guys are more hardworking than me, go through research areas. Another thing that I'm afraid of is if I wrongly select the research areas. That's another reason that I don't do this also. If there are keywords, I don't mind. Scopus got keywords, I don't mind. But here, research areas, I don't want. So I normally do research domain. Okay, research domain down here. All right, I use research domain. This one. Okay, Kurnia? Yes, document type, research domain. But again, this is my recipe. You can have your own dedicated recipe as well. Not necessarily you must follow what I do. But my recipe, I already published with my recipe. So I can tell you that it's a valid recipe. That's how normally we establish our findings, right? Either you do patent or you do copyright or you do publication or you write book. All right. So yes, document type, database. Thanks, Amira. So in total, we have 27. So Web of Science done. One other thing I need to repeat is when you do scoping or systematic review, you intend to include a lot of graphical results to show the search. Okay, so you see here, this is my protocol. I never use the traditional protocol. Me and Parvez, we explored to do it differently. So we created a funnel, 62 total, 35 filtered. After that elimination, we got 29 and final 29. So I already explained here. This is a different way of presenting your protocol. But this is important. What is it? This shows the number of papers published in your own segment or your review area over the years and to show that it's exponentially increasing now. It's taking a trend now, increasing. This is an important graph. And then you also want to show the top-notch journals that are publishing in your area. So that also you need to show. And then you also need to show that the authors are actually increasing over years. They're publishing more papers, all to show that there is a huge relevancy in the requirement to conduct research in your area. You're selling the idea. How do you get all this information? So what you need to have is analytics. You need to mostly cover publication years, research areas, authors, publication source titles, countries. Depending on your requirement, you can include any of this. So let me show that. You click analyze results here. From here, you can get all the information that you need. Example, publication years, you can get it from here. All right. And then document types, not document types, database, bukan database juga, public, yeah, this one. Publication titles, okay. Then you can get authors, also you can get here, all the information is here. So it already summarized a lot of items already, okay, all right. So that is how you can do it, okay. I hope that is clear. Any questions? Very good. So Ms. Fatini had actually shared the form for you to fill out. Please take 1 minute to fill out. Not really, Apuru. It depends on your requirement. So if you want to show the exponential curve, people publishing over the years, or if you want to show which authors, how they're publishing over years, you want to show an increasing trend. It's all about showing trend. Is it increasing or flat or dropping? If dropping, that means no point you studying in that. I mean, you're researching into that area. Okay, so take 1 minute, please fill up the form. Let me open Scopus now. Scopus. All right, there we go. Fill up, fill up, fill up, guys. Let's go. No problem, Apuru. No worries. As long as it's clear for you guys, I'm more than happy. Okay. All right. So now we are in Scopus already. So I'll wait for you guys to fill up. Okay, so let's continue. Let's do this. All right, so we go back to, okay, Scopus, this is how it is, okay, but I think most of you know Scopus, so nothing to worry about it. So we're going to go all fields. We're going to search institutional. I'm always very bad with this spelling. Institutional. Okay, investor. Let me double confirm. Okay, done. Institutional investor. And then, and all fields. Higher education. Okay. Understand something very clearly. In Scopus, you must use quotation mark. If you don't use, you can try it yourself later. You'll get 2,800 papers for the same keyword. But if you use this quotation mark, same like Google Scholar, you will only get what you will get. I'll show you. Okay. I'll show you in a while. So published from 2011 to 2021, search. So instead of 2,800, you'll get 360 documents only. I can even show you now. Okay. So if I don't put the quotation mark, I will get 2,881. So if you mistakenly just forget one crucial step, you will end up filtering thousands of papers, which will delay your entire process. Okay, so we click edit again. So see, it automatically create N. That's the problem. It's actually not a problem. It is how Scopus works. So we remove that and we hit search. Okay, Kurnia. This month I have to submit concept paper journal. I haven't even defined a proposal yet. It will be on next 2 months. As you mentioned earlier, that we should done a proposal before doing paper. It's still okay, no problem. You can submit your paper also, no problem. Don't worry. Because you gonna submit your conceptual paper, not defend yet. That's okay. You can submit. It's fine. No harm doing it. Don't wait. Just go ahead. Okay. All right. So 360. Okay, Scopus, let me tell you. Okay, Scopus, I need 35. Okay, I need 35 from acronym paper. I need 35. I don't do any of this. I don't do open access, year, author name, subject area also I don't do. Document type also I don't do. Source title also I don't do because the numbers are very little. So what I do, I go to keyword. I just search everything I want from this keyword. Okay, so I take, if you refer back to my title here, institutional investors, higher education, SDG, Sustainable Development Growth. Right? So I take sustainability, I take sustainable development, I take education, I take institutional investors. I also take institutional investor here, singular and plural. And then I take higher education institution. So I click limit to. I will get 34. I supposed to get 35, but I only got 34. As of end of October, early November, I was getting 35 because Scopus tend to do audit every September, August. That is the month. Okay, they will do audit and they will tend to disable papers that do not meet their requirements. Okay, they always have because Scopus, unfortunately, they also index very weak papers, very scammy papers. So they'll audit all the time. So even the good journals, when they don't meet the requirement, they will be put on hold. So I think that is why I get one paper lesser now. While November I was still getting 35. Beginning of November. From August until beginning of November, when I was designing the slide, I was getting 35. From November until now, I only get 34. So one of the journal went missing. So what I'm trying to tell you here is, in future, when you submit the paper, because between submitting your paper to reviewing, suddenly the reviewer asks you, show us, some people might be crazy and they'll tell you, show us the actual search result. Oh, I'm searching. I don't get 35 or I don't get 40. How do you get 40? That's how you can explain. Okay? That's how, especially Scopus. Web of Science, you won't have that problem. Scopus, you have that problem. Scopus tend to index a lot of lousy journals as well, unfortunately. Okay, so that is how you do it. Now let's analyze search results. So in Scopus, this is how you analyze your results. That means all your data. You can see your exponential curve here, documents versus years, documents by authors, documents by source, and all this information, you can get it here. All right. So I hope that you guys have learned something new today during our hands-on session. If you have any question, please ask. We are done with hands-on. Let's continue the class. Any questions, please ask. Okay. Let's go into theoretical and conceptual frameworks. So after this, will you guys start using Web of Science and Scopus actively? Please let me know. If you have any queries, please let me know. I would advise you, if you don't have, okay, people use Science Direct, Emerald, IEEE Explore, if they don't have access to Web of Science or Scopus, because both are paid premium, right? If I think USM has the access. So if USM has the access, don't waste your time with Science Direct. Don't need to. Just go to the premium one. What is the difference between, it's all different branding. Survey, review paper, bibliographic, what do you call that, narrative review, it's all different branding. Survey and review are more or less, I think it's exactly the same thing. Okay. So yeah. All right. So let's get going. Theoretical framework. Okay. Whatever paper that you write, there will be an underlying theory, whether you know or you don't know it. Okay. In computer science, you'll have mathematics as your underlying framework. You have models underlying framework, previous algorithms as your underlying framework. Engineering, you have your mathematics, you have your theories, you have your principles that you follow. Okay. In social science, we have theoretical framework. Okay. Puru, so far, one can just stick to Web of Science. For PhD, I would advise you Web of Science Scopus, Google Scholar. When you do systematic search, you do Web of Science Scopus. But Google Scholar, don't miss out on it. Google Scholar will have everything that you need. So always don't miss out on that. Okay. I only tell you not use Google Scholar when you do that protocol for systematic review. That time, don't use Google Scholar. Okay. All right. So theory is something that will always have gap because we keep developing, we keep adding new information, keep adding new information. So always have some form of theory, some form of principle as part of your review paper. And as an extension to that, you're solving a problem that will be in the form of conceptual framework. That is what you can present as part of your review paper. Okay. So I've given a breakdown of theoretical framework versus conceptual framework. You can have a look. But most importantly, today I want to explain the actual differences between conceptual frameworks because we have both social science, engineering, computer science all in one platform today. But engineering, computer science, you guys might be thinking, conceptual framework, I don't really have one. What do I do? I'm going to show that to you today. Okay, so all this, I'll give it to you. You can read. These are all very straightforward information. Okay. So before that, let's go to step one to scoping review. How do you actually do it hands-on? So that also I'm going to show to you. But before that, okay, this I already explained to you. I'll show you literally a 10 pages proposal that we coached. But before that, how many of you have not seen this diagram before? Because this is where the step one is. I need to, if you know this, I won't explain. I'll go to the next slide immediately. If you have never seen this before, then I will explain this to you. How many of you never ever seen this before? So there are still people never seen this before. Okay, that means you guys are clearly very new, so that's totally okay. I'm very, very happy to explain to you. Okay, all right. So this is our proofreading by UK PhDs or my own design of PhD or master's journey. What you do and what you do next. Okay, I came up with this because during my PhD years, I don't know what to do next. I always get stuck. I be like, I published paper already. What do I do next? Okay, so I came up with this idea to create this framework to have as a guideline, to serve as a guideline for PhD and master student by research. Coursework, not really an issue because you know exactly what you do, what you need to do next. Research is where you need guidance, guideline. And this framework, I've already implemented in USIM, okay, via the graduate school. I've trained I train supervisors. Okay, I train supervisors, junior supervisors on how they can conduct supervision and how the entire framework should operate when they have a student. So I've already trained them. I'm going to train in Taylor's. UTP will be this month or maybe next month, depending on date. So several universities I'm training. Soon I'll be training in UITM also, all the supervisors across Malaysia, and so on and so forth. Okay, so here, this framework consists of PhD proposal, PhD thesis, 2 stages, all right, under one framework. And you always start with step one. That is 10 pages proposal. All right, that is 10 pages proposal, which will be like this. This is how normally we coach a 10 pages proposal. This is a social science topic. Okay, I have modified this topic. So you cannot actually know the actual content of this proposal because it's confidential. So I've done the necessary modification that I need to do. So effect of extrinsic motivation on organizations' e-crime prevention, moderating role of employees' e-crime awareness in the Middle East. Okay, so we start with introduction. I'm going to run through very quickly, okay? Background. Okay, that is the background. Then we have problem statement. And then we have research questions. research objectives, significance of study, literature review, theoretical perspective, all the underpinning theories, conceptual framework, which I already removed because it's confidential, um, excuse me, and hypothesis development. If you don't have hypothesis, you don't need to have it. Don't worry about it. And proposed methodology. That is all you need to give your supervisor at the first stage, so that they know exactly what your idea is, what you intend to do. So that if you match this up to the structure, you can see a very strong relation to the structure. So we don't actually design things without having foolproof. We do the foolproof and then we design the structure. Okay, vice versa. So everything I'm explaining today is actually done and dusted. All right. So you can actually follow, no problem. Don't worry about it. So after first stage, once the supervisor gives that very nice smile, all right, they say, I need more information. Then you go into your full proposal, chapters 1 to 3, which ranges from 60 to 80 pages, roughly. All right, then make sure that you do proofreading. Very, very, very crucial, this one. Because recently I'm seeing even at proposal defense, student getting scrutinized because the language is not clear and defense committee cannot actually follow and understand the proposal. If your proposal is not clear, you're going to have very hard time here. Defense correction. You actually get more correction because of that. So my advice to you is do proofreading. Very, very important. Not us, you can find anyone else, no problem. But make sure you do it. Is Grammarly enough? I can answer you very simply. Okay, if in a very simple manner, if Grammarly can understand what you're writing academically, Grammarly can also write it for you. The reason that, because then Grammarly will easily sell their software. Okay, if Grammarly can understand a content, it can also write the content. All right. The reason that Grammarly cannot understand content is the very reason why they don't have a writing software yet. That means literally they can write a paper or thesis or proposal and so on, because they don't have that understanding engine yet. So they go based on their linguistic engine. However they train their engine, I don't know, but it only focuses on linguistic elements. That means you have this word, then what you must have the next word. If you have this word, you must have has. If you have this word, you must have. That's all. But they don't understand the overall structure and context. While proofreaders will understand the actual context and will be able to edit in accordance to that. That's why Grammarly still cannot beat a lot of proofreading companies out there. All right. It is very good for business English, but it is not really sufficient for academic English, especially if you have English is not your first language and you have a very fussy proposal committee and also Viva examiners, then you will be in a lot of trouble. Okay, because they don't understand your English, they will be giving you more corrections because you cannot blame them. They cannot understand what you're trying to say. They cannot see the significance of your study. This is true. This is true story that I'm facing almost every other weeks. Okay, I pity the students sometimes. The content will be so good, but even I find it hard to understand and proofread because I'll be like, what are you talking about? Sometimes you have to go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth to understand what they're trying to say. All right. So take extra care here. And then we always conduct, step number 4 is defense training. Make sure you spend time, convince supervisor to give you a proposal defense, mock defense. I call that mock defense, so that you know what you're going to face in your proposal defense. This is something that we always do for our consultees. And also, the slides that we follow, we advise them to do is either 60-40 or 70-30. What is that? 60 to 70% diagrams, 30 to 40% words. That's the normal, that's the optimum ratio that you must maintain. Okay, so then proposal defense. Let me take this off. And finally, defense corrections. If you spend significant, if you not spend, if you take put in significant attention here, I can tell you from my experience, people actually get very little corrections here. Because these guys sitting here will be able to understand your overall idea. This is my theory, okay? My theory based on my empirical results of looking at students, okay? And then we do a lot of coaching here as well, especially major corrections. Some we see, we don't even know how they pass their proposal defense, honestly. Okay, sometimes I really respect the committee to be very nice. Okay, so then While working on all that concurrently, you can work on your concept paper and your systematic review paper. This part I already explained to you earlier in your hourglass theory. All right, so I don't want to go into that anymore. If you want to know more on this, go and watch my second class. Talk to Dr. Mendy, get recording of second class. All right, then you have PhD thesis phase. Now, this is where you build your experimental system, your model, your software, your instrument, your data, your survey, whatever. You go and collect your data, build your data, record your data, however you do it, your method. Finish your analysis and start building your chapters 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, 8, 9, depending on your data. This is another alignment. Okay, so here normally we will always focus on Smart PLS, SPSS, MATLAB, eViews, Stata. These are the kind of data, NVivo, these are the kind of data analysis software that we normally focus on. Okay, that we normally coach how to use and so on. All right, then you have chapters 1 to 5 alignment. This chapters 1 to 5 alignment is usually very wrongly misunderstood by students. Because what they do, they just take chapters 1 to 3, they take chapters 4 and 5, they just combine them, paste into one file, and then submit for Viva or send for proofreading. Please don't do that. We see that a lot. So that's why I came up with this diagram. Step number 9, you got a lot of work to do. When you patch them together, chapters 1 to 3 and chapters 4 and 5, it's like your body. You're patching your leg from another time and your half your body another time. You need to align them carefully when you're patching them. Right? Just putting it in context. So chapters 1 to 3 has to align with your discussion or your results and so on. So that means you need to expand your chapter 2, expand your chapter 1, realign the content, realign your chapter 2 literature. And between this window and this window, you have a lot of time gap, at least 1 year plus 2 years and so on, depending on your study. So references would have expired, new references would have came in. You need to do a lot of work here. Okay, this is also another important segment that we always coach. How do you align and combine them? Then you create 2 more journals, meta-analysis, empirical papers, and so on. This proofreading, please, 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 do your proofreading before your Viva. I get many students come to me and then send me for proofreading, and I ask them, how was your, when is your Viva and so on, and they'll be like, no, Viva is done already. Examiner asked me to proofread again or proofread now because they cannot understand that well. I got major corrections. I even had one reviva 1.5 months ago from UITM. 1.5 months ago, reviva, because this examiner cannot literally understand what is going on. That is the problem. Okay, it is a very, very crucial problem here. When you invite someone to come and read your thesis and evaluate how great you are, you must give your A class work, not D class work. Keep that in mind, okay? And then prepare for your Viva, your first supervisor, your second supervisor, or all of them together. Or you can always approach me if you want mock, or you want someone to really scrutinize you. This part, you really need someone to grill you like a roasted chicken. Because the more they grill you, the more stronger you will be during your Viva. Trust me with this, as many times as you can. Okay? And then, when after your Viva, you'll get major or minor. Do this very carefully. Don't take this lightly, okay? Because this also can give you a lot of different problems, all right? So that is all. And how do we normally coach and consult stage by stage? All of these steps that we normally consult and coach. That is what we do. So either we will apply mode 1 and mode 2 depending on the progress of your document. Content commenting and online coaching. We have about 112 consultants now, various areas. So content commenting, online coaching will give you the necessary comments that what you need to improve, and online coaching in explaining them to you. Or if you're at the very beginning stage proposal, or you're at the thesis stage, you require analysis and so on and so forth, that all will come under accelerated thesis consultancy. Okay, we'll basically build a plan for you. We will go stage by stage together with you. We will coach you via Google Meet. We will explain to you step by step what you need to write, how you need to write introduction, results part, all these things. And then finally, very critical ones, we look into content editing only for special cases. All right. This is the 4 different modes that we cover. So now let's go into step 1 sample I've shown you already. How do you convert that step 1 into a scoping review paper? Let's quickly build the paper. So let me show you the template. Okay, so I've built this template. I'll share this template with you. This is a very raw template. It's not a very, it's so, to a certain extent, it's kind of comprehensive as well. So, first you have title. This is your review paper, journal paper. Title, your authors, your abstract. This is something you write at the end. Introduction, review questions, keywords, all your methods, scoping or systematic review if you want to use those methods, or narrative review, you can just remove this whole thing. No need. Okay, then new theoretical framework development with literature matrix, discussion, conclusions. Okay, let me show you how I have converted. So from this proposal, which I shown you earlier, this one, okay, I've literally just copied across. I mapped them already, right? I know where to, but let me tell you something. From this mapping process, we will normally do another 1 month of work at least to make sure it looks like a proper paper. Okay, we have a lot of sessions that we go through to make sure that it looks like a paper. This is not even close, but I'll tell you how quickly you can convert. So title, obviously the same title. Abstract only at the end. Introduction, you copy across the whole introduction. So introduction all the way. You have your background here. Okay, this is your background. Then you have your problem statement. I only take research questions, but you cannot, my advice to you, don't put it like this. You can summarize into one question, explicitly what you're looking into. And then your keywords, okay, all this one you need to redo. Because as I told you, proposal, narrative review, not scoping or systematic. So you need to redo this part. But the literature review section, you can copy across the whole thing. Under new theoretical framework development literature matrix, you can copy across. You'll come with your theory and then your conceptual framework. And if you have hypothesis, you can copy your hypothesis. And finally, your discussion, you must have policy implication, practical implication. So I copy across the significance of study and expand on that to discuss more. Discussion is very, 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 very important when it comes to a review paper. Okay, but don't worry. No, Apuru, like I said, if you don't do quantitative, you don't need hypothesis. Don't worry about it. Okay? If you do quantitative research, then you do hypothesis. Otherwise, don't do. Don't worry about it. You don't need it. So I will give you my sample paper later. I'll email to you guys since you already fill up the form. You can look at my sample paper, how I've written my paper. You can follow the same scope also. Now, like what Apuru asked, do I need hypothesis? Because conceptual framework and hypothesis is not applicable for all subject areas. This one, many people don't know. Because when you go learn from social science guys, they talk about hypothesis because they don't know that other areas, they don't really use hypothesis. If you talk to engineering guys, they don't ever talk about hypothesis. So the social science guys will be like, I have hypothesis, what do I do with it? So what do you do? There are two different scenarios here. This is a social science framework, quantitative framework. This is a paper that we worked on, we coached on. This is the single most best achievement in our entire history because we have brought a review paper, concept paper to Wiley Journal of Business Strategy and Environment, impact factor 11.2, I think now, if I'm not mistaken. Without results, without data, just concept paper, conceptual framework, we have achieved that. This is a significant milestone for us, okay? And then we majorly focused on proofreading on this part, okay, for this particular paper, paraphrasing and proofreading. We really retransformed the entire paper. So empirical data required to prove the relationship, that's where the paper is heading. Hypothesis will be derived. Now, how about computer science engineering guys? You can do something like this. This is UTM paper that we also worked on. This one we got the paper accepted with only one minor revision. This one went through few, this one only one minor revision. This is a conceptual expression of a solution, no hypothesis. It is not a quantitative framework. It is a conceptualization of their entire idea. Merely stating processes, practical application of a problem. So they had the problem of maintenance issues in Malaysia, how they are resolving. Okay, how they are in build environment engineering, how they're solving the entire predicament, the problems. So these are all the drop down, then recommendation, they drop down, maintenance management, they drop down. So don't worry, if you want to learn more, you go and read this paper. This is the paper, Journal of Building Engineering, concept paper, systematic review, Q1 impact factor 5.318, Elsevier. Review on maintenance issues toward building maintenance management best practices. Like I told you, when you do computer science or engineering, don't go technical. Go on the review part of it. Okay, so that is where you need to strategize when you write your review paper. Okay, and I'm going to give you some other example for social science, for engineering, for medical sciences, health sciences. This is a scoping review paper. Okay, so these are some samples that you can look at because I know these papers personally. We worked on it. And then coming down to how important is proofreading. See, if this particular paper, Journal of Building Engineering, whether it's thesis, proposal, or publication, the content is very good. Okay, no harm on the content. But imagine how much we transform the paper. If we never transform this amount, just within the introduction itself, we can see how much. The readers won't understand the actual context. They won't appreciate how strong is this paper. So that is where paraphrasing, proofreading, editing, structuring really plays a very significant role in re-establishing the context of the paper. Another good example I can show is Dr. Herol's paper. I think most of you know him. He's the systematic review guy in Malaysia. SCI Q1 impact factor 4.306. This is the 7th or 8th paper that we worked for Dr. Herol. Now we are at, today we got the 17th paper, 18th paper, I think, if I'm not mistaken. You see the amount of changes? We retransform the entire paper. Similarly for thesis and proposal as well. You need that if your language is not, your first language is not English. That's how it works, okay? So, and also very important for publication, when you submit, make sure you submit a proofreading certificate. Whoever you hire, make sure they have the necessary endorsements and the necessary analytics to prove the experience. Otherwise, sometimes Elsevier, Wiley, Taylor's, IEEE, MDPI, they won't recognize their frontiers. They won't recognize the certificate. And make sure, so I also heard that some proofreaders charge up to 50 ringgit, 100 ringgit for a certificate. You don't need to pay for this. This is supposed to be free. You shouldn't pay for this, okay? And for thesis, make sure that you submit along with the certificate, okay? So last but not least, don't forget, this one is only given for students who attend my courses or my seminars, Ultimate Thesis Package, up to 30% off. Proofreading, translation, formatting services, and for journal, you get 10 and 20% off. And most importantly, we are the one and only language warranty provider. That means you get lifetime warranty for your journal, thesis, proposal. What it means? How does it impact me? Because this part of our ISO charter that we promise to our ISO standard company. When you submit a journal paper, can take 6 months, 1 year, 1.5 years, and so on to review sometimes. So imagine after 1 year, it comes back, the reviewer says, check your language again. If you go back to a normal proofreading company, they'll charge you back, but we don't. We will recheck for free. Same goes to thesis and proposal as well. Okay, so Miss Hazika has shared the link. You can register yourself. So this is what we normally do. All right. So for today's class, you guys are going to get very important notes to how to write a scoping review. I'm going to give you a full folder of PDF files, which explains every section, how you can write example. This is the best note. It took me very long time to get these notes. So these very, very good notes for you to write your concept paper. And then Prisma SCR checklist, how you do your Prisma. The narrative review paper that I told you, 11.2 impact factor, I think. My own scoping review paper and the 10 pages proposal. Okay, so you're going to get all these notes. Please register yourself. Don't forget. Last but not least, this is where we are located in Cyberjaya, but we are far off from you guys. So if you want to discuss something, you want to share your knowledge, you have some problem, you want to discuss coaching or consulting or proofreading and so on, you can drop me a WhatsApp directly. This is my link. Okay. Or we can always, thank you very much, Apuru, no problem. So for next year Facebook live classes, I'm collecting potential classes that you want me to teach. For USM classes, we have already decided. Me and Dr. Mendy already decided, we already scheduled the dates. Don't worry about it, okay? That is done. But what I want from you feedbacks are, what do you guys want to learn? What else you want to learn so that I can schedule those under my Facebook live classes? How can you suggest? This is the link. Click that link. Make sure you give me 5-star review. Under the comment, you can write down what other classes you want to learn. Okay, take 1 minute, click the link. Don't give me 4-star. I only want 5-star. If you're going to give me less than 5-star, don't. Just click the WhatsApp link above and you can WhatsApp me directly what classes you want. I totally understand. Don't worry about it. Okay. All right. So thank you very much. I appreciate your time. We are towards the end already. Last but not least, don't forget, if you are stuck, time is not your friend. Get your supervisor's help or coaching consulting as per your requirement. And if your supervisors want to publish any papers, they also having facing trouble and so on, don't worry. We don't only cover students, we cover a lot of professors as well. We teach them, we coach them and so on. But we only cover Scopus and Web of Science. We don't do ERA and any other journals. Only Scopus, Web of Science journals, because that is our standard currently. ERA and so on is very easy. You can do it yourself. Okay, don't waste your money. And then we also coach a lot on proposal defense and thesis examiner response. Okay, proposal defense and how you respond to comments and so on. And Viva. From PhD proposal all the way to defense consultancy, proposal defense and Viva preparation. This is something. Okay, for this, whoever going for proposal defense and Viva very soon, go to my Telegram group. You can type out defense. You can get this template here. This one is part of the collection that we have done by coaching a lot of students for proposal defense and Viva. So when they come back, we will get the very general feedback, what they normally ask. I've compiled that into 25 questions, but this is not very specific. This is very general. But you can still read through and prepare yourself to know what you're going to face in proposal defense and Viva and so on. So this is the template that I've given in my group. And finally, thesis to journal conversions, defense Viva preparations, data analysis and interpretation. Okay, so these are the 6 core areas that we cover under our consultancy. And finally, thank you very much. 6 minutes extra today. Very sorry about that. And Happy New Year to all of you. Thank you for joining. You guys been very, very great. Let me stop sharing. Stop sharing. Okay, all right. So Mandy, over to you. Mandy, thank you very much. I
All
hope
right,
it was,
thank you. Thank you, Dr. Tawa, for
no
sharing
problem.
the workshop with us.
No
So
problem.
I think we have the link of feedback. Please fill in for attendance and give the feedback for the workshop. So Dr. Tawa is asking for suggestions, right? So I think the suggestion would really be helpful for all of us. And
Sure.
I think Hazika, you have the link, right, for REWS channels. So Hazika would share the link, and these are all the videos, Dr. Tawa, that we have actually recorded. And for this recording, we'll be doing it as soon as possible. All right. So,
All right.
yeah, thanks. So, I think on behalf of the School of Computer Science and also USM family, we would like to really thank Dr. Tawa for all the 4 series of workshop. What I see is he is willing to share with us, and it is a part of his CSR. So he do it for free of charge. Okay, so to all of you, I think including me, we are very delightful. And thank you, Dr. Tawa. We wish you all the best and Happy New Year as well.
Thank you,
And for
Mandy.
next year, for next year, we have another 4 different workshop. Yeah. So we can't wait for it. All right. So,
Sure.
so Happy New Year and Merry Christmas to you, and also
Thank you,
to all
Mandy.
of
Happy New
you.
Year. Merry Christmas. Thank you.
Yes.
All right. Happy New Year, everyone. Thank you. Bye-bye, guys. Have a very good one. And then we'll see you next year. Okay. Take break. Take care of your mental health. I think break is very important. So see you all next year. Okay. All right. Bye-bye. See you guys.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.